around what I'm looking for. 15 minutes to 12. Don't forget, Ted is up after me at 12 o'clock to carry you through the lunch hour. But right now, we've still got the lovely Madonna in talking all things weight loss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
you kind of like blowing my eyes and my mind a little bit because it's like, oh yeah, I've been through that.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying.
Oh, look. And, you know, we were talking about the thyroid a few weeks ago, and I've had 2 people in this week who the regular things that are tested by the doctors, so TSH, free T4, so those 2 tend to be out of balance before the doctor will generally do free T3. Right. And then if you're lucky, and there's heaps of, you know, immune issues in your family, you might be lucky to get a doctor who might get the antibodies checked for you. So one of my ladies, her thyroid, for example, was perfect. Her TSH was 1.7, which is perfect. Her free T3 and free T4 were absolutely spot on, nothing wrong. Her reverse T3, which is a sign that your T4 can't convert to T3, and it's a toxicity issue, basically it was perfectly low, but the antibodies. So she insisted on having the whole panel done, and for her it was the antibodies that were through the roof, which is of course Hashimoto's. So when your antibodies are through the roof, you've got your immune system attacking your thyroid. But because everything else was okay, there's no way they would have approved tests unless she'd actually, and she had to pay for it, you know, herself. And then, but she found it, and now she's working towards because of course your thyroid runs your metabolism in your body. If your thyroid is a little bit sluggish, it can shut down your liver metabolism, so you don't detox as well. It can shut down your gut, so then you might end up with reflux, heartburn, constipation, that sort of thing. So, and I had another guy this week, everything was perfect except his reverse T3 was through the roof. So these are 2 extra tests. Both of them, honestly, anyone would have looked at those first numbers and thought, no, it's not your thyroid. Anyone, and even me as a naturopath, because I'm always looking for perfect health, not just when we get onto the drugs.
Yeah.
So therefore, from my perspective, they were optimal except for these extra tests. So I know the reverse T3 can cost people $150 extra, and the antibodies, I'm not sure what that costs, but they do cost money if you can't get a doctor to, you know, take it seriously. Sometimes if there's a lot of autoimmunity in your family, so if people do have things like Graves' disease or rheumatoid arthritis, or, you know, things that go into that autoimmune category, and you've got enough symptoms, then they might, you know, agree to pay for those, you know, if your symptoms. And it's always good to be armed with the information. Get onto the internet, look up, if you suspect your thyroid, look up all of the symptoms. See how many that actually fit your symptoms. Yes, I'm putting on weight easily. Yes, I'm constipated. Yes, my eyebrows are falling out from the ends. You know, sort of just all the little bits and pieces that work for your symptoms, and then that way the doctor might take it a little bit more seriously.
Doing a bit more research.
Exactly.
But make sure you get your information from credible sites too. Don't just get it from a site that doesn't really have much.
No. And actually, there's a lady in New York, actually I'm not sure where she's from in America, she was on the New York bestseller, but her name's Dr. Isabella Wendt, W-E-N-D-T, and she's actually got heaps of free information on the net about thyroid diseases and what we can do to help it.
So for someone who's been listening to the information, you're talking about your T3, T4s, and they're not really sure what it's about or what to do, but they do want to know more, if they were to come and see you at New Leaf Natural Therapies there, what would they expect? Like if I went and saw you and said, hey, Madonna, I'd like to lose weight and get healthy, what's the process? How would you guys start paying?
So initially there is half a dozen forms we get people to fill out, and they're just a snapshot. I'm aware they're just a snapshot. I don't diagnose from it. I don't prescribe from it. People get irritated about that sort of thing. And it does take about 40 minutes to fill out. But what that gives me is a whole bunch of symptoms that are linked to different mineral deficiencies, and that gives me a snapshot of what might be going on in your body. There's a DAS, the Depression, Anxiety, Stress Score, so we do that one. I've got another one that gets you to fill out things about your digestion, your immune system, how you feel about your body, you know, so that's another one. And then there's things about medications and, you know, the usual sort of stuff. So, you know, you need to make yourself a cup of tea, sit down, do it, because it does take a bit of time.
Take time. But those forms that everybody's filling out gives you a really good overall picture.
Absolutely.
How you can help them.
Like, and then the girl, like if there's any scoring to do, the girls, Lynn and Sanu, they actually do the adding up for me. And then it means that when we walk in, I already have a whole bunch of information about your health.
Beautiful.
So it means that we haven't wasted the first hour taking in all that data. I love it.
Yeah.
So then, and the reason the minerals are important is just like, for example, because people who say have arthritis, ligament, tendon, joint stuff, if I'm looking at the minerals and I see the silica and calcium fluoride levels are through the roof, I know that person can't exercise to lose weight instantly. You know, so there's no that. And then when I start going through the history, they say, oh yeah, I was a netball player and now my ankles are, you know, so blah 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 when I get out walking. So you know that person isn't going to be able to go join a walking club, and because they're going to be constantly under, you know, battling because of those sort of injuries, in which case you get those minerals into their body. You start healing the joints, the ligaments, the tendons, so that they can build up to that over a couple of years, because it takes time. You know, we've got lots of joints and ligaments, tendons, bones in our body. So when they're starting to break down, it's a lot of supplementation you need to reverse that. But then you think, well, why are the joints deteriorating? So if someone is structurally out of balance, and I'm a structural therapist as well, so, but people might have a really good massage therapist or kinesiologist or acupuncturist or something, you know, physio, whatever, and whatever you're doing, as long as it's moving you in the, you know, the correct direction, that's fantastic. But structurally, if someone comes in and it's their hip that's constantly out, and that's the thing that's stopping them from exercise, then, you know, sometimes I'll whack their hip back in, because that's the sort of thing I do. Yeah.
So you really do look after everybody from head to toe.
I sort of do.
And give a good whack to put things back in alignment.
Yeah, and I sort of, from the emotional perspective, I do a process called LEAP. So LEAP is a brain integration process. It stands for Learning Enhancement Acupressure Program, and it was developed by Dr. Charles Krebs. He's one of my gurus, love him. And he wrote a book called A Revolutionary Way of Thinking, because going back 30 years ago, he had a deep sea, you know, the nitrogen bubble in the spine, so that he was basically a quadriplegic, was going to die, and BP was they were on strike at the time, so we went into one of the decompression chambers for 12 days. It broke down the nitrogen bubble in his spine, but he came out. He was still in bed for 9 months, unable to walk. But in that time, because he happened to be a black belt and believed in, you know, positive thinking, he would just visualise, you know, those nerve plexus going from his head to his feet, and he walked out 9 months later.
Wow, that's very impressive.
Yeah, he only had like 1 millimetre of energy going up through his spinal cord in that area where there'd been damage. Wow. He's a phenomenon. Love Charles.
Well, we're going to go to a quick break, and then we're going to come back, wrap it up, and say goodbye to the lovely Madonna from New Leaf Natural Therapies, who's been given some great info on weight loss. It's AFM 100.3. We'll be right back.